All right, so now it is my supreme honor to introduce our speaker for this morning. She is Reverend Mary Jayne Hyde. Many of you know her. She's been here forever and ever and ever. She's been a lifelong seeker of truth. In 1990, Mary Jayne started attending the First Church of Religious Science Church here in Phoenix, while serving in this very building, right? This very building. While serving on a committee to save the declining church, Mary Jayne is known for saying, "Let's start our own church." And after the group debated the issue for some time, it was decided to start a new church that became Creative Living Fellowship. Did you know that? She's been here from the beginning. She was a graduate of the very first practitioner class at CLF, and in December 2000, became a licensed practitioner, or as we call them, spiritual life coach. She's also a graduate of CLF's Ministerial School. The title of Mary Jayne's talk today is Love at Work. Would you please come on up, Mary Jayne? We're going to give you a very special welcome to get you started. Let's get those energy hands going here. We're going to hold out our hands to her as we say, we open our hearts. We open our minds. To hear the inspiration of Spirit. Through you.
Thank you.
Welcome. Would you please give a warm welcome to Mary Jayne Hyde?
Good morning. Good morning, CLF. It's so awesome to be here. Today is my first day speaking at CLF, so I'm really excited about it. Woohoo! I never dreamed when we started this church that I would be up here doing this. It was not in my consciousness. I would have said you're crazy if somebody had told me. So I'm happy to be here. So last year in March, I was in Chicago. I remember it well. It was snowing. Yeah, so I woke up in the morning, the hotel, went downstairs, and I saw all this snow. And I was so excited. I went outside with my camera, and I was snapping pictures of snow on everything. Snow on plants, snow on the driveway. It was like blanketing. It was really pretty. Snow coming down out of the sky, and I was sending these photos off, and I was having a great time. I turned around and looked, and the hotel staff's all inside going. They're like, "It's snow, lady." And I said, well, I'm from the desert. I don't get this privilege to see this very often, so I was enjoying it. But anyway, I was there for a work thing. I was part of the training team for our sales staff, the company I work for. We were moving from one computer system to another, and that's not usually a happy thing for people, especially salespeople. They don't. Computers may not be their favorite thing. They're more people, and they don't like making those kinds of changes. So I was there as part of our team, and I was standing in the back of the room just kind of observing how this was going and how they were dealing with moving to this new system. And I thought I was really minding my own business back there, and this thought comes through my head really loud and strong, and it says, you need to go to every one of these divisions to train them. And I was like, are you kidding me? That's 9 cities in 4 months. I don't like to travel. I don't travel well. I'm not doing it. My boss said I needed to go to 2. That's plenty. 2 cities, plenty. I said I have a health condition. I have a problem traveling and dragging suitcases around. There's no way I'm going to do this. It's not happening. So I felt pretty comfortable with that. I was like, yeah, I told that thought. I'm good. And and so I was still doing my work there, watching people, observing, and a little while later, this other thought comes, and it says, but you're the only person that can do this. And I said, oh, are you crazy? I don't believe that, I'm the only person that can do anything. There's, Spirit works through everybody. And I started thinking about it, and I was the only person on the team anywhere who knew both systems. And I also knew our salespeople. I worked for the company for now 17 and a half years. And I know them. I know how they use the system. I know both of them. I can help bridge them to the new one. And I realized it in that moment that this crazy thought was right. And so I argued with it for about another week. And then I finally went to my boss and I said, I think I can add value by going to the other training sessions. And he said, well, I'm not going to make you do it. It's up to you if you want to. I said, I don't want to, but it sounds like that's what I'm being guided to do. So I started making my travel plans, and lo and behold, for the next 7 cities, I had lots of energy, and I was able to do the training and the travel and everything else I was supposed to be doing. Because when you're guided to do something, you get the tools to do it. Until it was time for me to not go. And this was the part that surprised me. I was getting ready to go to the last leg of the trip, and I woke up and I didn't feel real well. I said, well, it's probably just nothing. I had called on the practitioners to treat for my health, and I went on my way. I went to Philadelphia, and the next day I was sick. And the next day I went to the training session, but I was really sick. So I emailed my boss and said I'm leaving, and I got back. I went to the doctor, and I had pneumonia. I said, well, now what? I was guided to do this. I'm ready to do it, and now I've got pneumonia. Well, the treatment worked because I wasn't supposed to be there for whatever reason for the last couple of divisions, but, I treated for health, and I got time to rest. So it was answered prayer, and I was real okay with it once I got over the frustration with, once I was going to do this since I got guided to do it. Well, now I'm guided to do something different. Okay. So what's the point of all that? The point of it is I love the people I work with. I genuinely love the salespeople that I help support that are out in the field. They sell houses like you, Rhonda. And it's not an accident. I mean, it's not an accident that I enjoy the people I work with. After 17 years, you think we'd hate each other. It could be a really bad marriage. But we've learned to work with each other, and it's been an effort. It's not just that these are wonderful people and we all just get along and we're happy all the time. It's taken effort. And so where I start with where I believe it starts in being able to have that kind of a work atmosphere is not the place where you probably think, but it's personal responsibility. It's taking personal responsibility. When I make a mistake, I have learned, and it's not been easy, because it used to be, I think somebody else did that. I'm pretty sure I did it. I took care of it, But I just say, oops, my mistake. What can we do now? How can we, fix the problem? How can we solve it? How can we not have this happen next time? Done with the defensiveness, the blaming. So you can do that, maybe on a day-to-day basis. That's pretty easy. And it does take practice. It takes practice to be able to, see something that you've done or somebody's unhappy with something and take responsibility right away. So I have an example from somebody's life, not mine, but my dad. My dad has been a teacher for me, or he was. Yeah, he still is. He was sober 32 years in the program of Alcoholics Anonymous when he passed away. And one of the things in the 12 steps is about, admitting we're wrong. Immediately admitting we're wrong and, making amends. And so he was pretty good at it. And he was living here. He moved here from a small town. He retired, wanted to be near the family, so he was here. he was, it was a little hard for him to get used to driving on our streets. You know, it can be a challenge. It can be a challenge if you've lived here all your life. But he was pulling out onto one of our major streets, which is like a freeway to him, and he misjudged and he pulled out in front of somebody. He immediately realized what he'd done. He got out of the way, but he was done with it. But the people stopped to, give him a critique of his driving. And they were upset. Well, they were scared, whatever, probably. But they were telling him what they thought about it, and he's practiced this for many years, and he just said, "I didn't see you. I'm very sorry." And they didn't hear it the first time. They kept going, and the second time he said, "I really didn't see you. I'm very sorry." And he's very sincere, and they heard him. And the man that was driving said, "Oh, okay, got it," and went on. And so, we can think of many situations where that could have gone differently. I mean, we see the results, we hear the results of those happening all the time with people driving and road rage and whatever. But when he simply admitted it and said, "I'm sorry, there's not much I can do about it right now, I did it," it just kind of dissipated, and that's what I think happens a lot of times when we just take responsibility. So oops, I made a mistake, and I'm sorry, what can I do now? It just kind of takes the wind out of the sails of somebody that wants to come in and take it out on you because you made a mistake. Sorry. And what happens when you're doing that all the time, and it's a regular practice, is you become more compassionate with yourself, for one thing. Oops, I made a mistake. It's just, And the other thing is you become more compassionate with others because it's just, they just made a mistake. And I'm not saying I'm perfect because I talk to drivers sometimes like everybody else, but but often I become more curious. I see something happening, and I'm more curious what's going on with that person. It's not a car; it's a person that's driving, and there may be a whole family in that car. So it's people, and I had a real good experience in turning my thinking around because I would think of cars, and I was out turning once, and somebody was driving really slow, and I was like, "What's going on up there?" They're driving so slow. And so we got around the corner, and I did go in the other lane, and I just happened to look. I have an SUV, so I looked down in their car, and this woman was cradling this dog, and they were going to the vet. And the way I feel about animals, it got me. I mean, it really got me. I said, "Oh my God, here I am in my little world thinking that it's so important. Somebody else has a challenge that they're dealing with." So it was one of those moments where it helped me to understand that, everybody's dealing with their stuff, and I don't know what's going on with them. So, I can be tolerant and patient with people if I realize they're people and they have problems just like I do, everybody else does. So it does help in your daily life if you're taking responsibility. But there's a bigger way of us taking responsibility. And this one's a harder one, I'm going to admit. It's taking responsibility for our emotions and our reactions. Things can happen, and we can get upset by things that people say. People may say something that sparks something in us, and we get angry. But I hear a lot, and I'm not talking about around here, but I hear a lot in social media and out in the world of people saying, "They made me angry," or "They made me upset," or "Because of what they did, I'm stuck in this place in my life." And that's just not true. Okay, once we are adults, and I know kids can grow up in some pretty painful situations, and they're not responsible. Once we're adults, though, we're responsible for what we do with that. Where was I going with this? The point is, nobody can make us angry. And my example is, so what does that look like if somebody makes you angry? Do they sit down on you and push a button that says this is anger, and how can they make you angry? They may say something that you don't like, but it's what we do with that that's totally 100% our responsibility. And so we can think of this in terms of the politics that are going on. I know there's a lot of feelings and emotions about what's going on in the world politically today. It doesn't matter what side you're on, but there's a lot of divisiveness going on with the rhetoric out there. So our job, I believe, is to, this is not easy, but to take responsibility for our reactions to that stuff. And at some point, we're going to understand that they're human beings. They're human beings on their path, and I don't know, what that's about, but they're human beings on their path, and it's not for mine to judge, really, how they're doing and what they're doing, but it is mine to try to be tolerant of them as human beings. This little book, This Thing Called You by Ernest Holmes, it's my favorite book of his, and all throughout this, he's talking about how we are all part of the one. We're all part of the divine one. There's no separation. We're all unique. He says individualized expressions of the one. All unique. Only us, we can express as we can. Nobody else can do it for us. But we're all united in the one. And so I believe that. And I believe that our work here is about, being and accepting and knowing our oneness with each other, because we really are all part of this one energy that is life. So when we have all this energy of divisiveness around us, I believe it's our work to try to not be more of that. So how do we do that? Well, I said we're responsible for our feelings and our reactions and our emotions about things. And, many of us have carried stuff from our childhood, whatever, forward. And I have an example from my life, somebody that I love dearly, who just did it very well, I think, maybe better than I could do. He grew up in less than ideal circumstances, had a tough time through his childhood, not a whole lot different than what I had. And he didn't go through years of counseling like I did. He didn't do all of the things that I did. He simply, at 18, he went and took himself to school, turned away from that situation, and never looked back. He never looked back. He just went on with his life. He said, I'm an adult. I'm responsible for what I have to do now. I'm not going to live like that, and I'm not going to raise my kids like that. And he didn't. I mean, he's amazing to me because he had 2 children. I watched him raise them, really. And he was so loving and such a good father. He would have done anything for those kids, but he was also strict, not too strict. He was the best father, and nobody taught him that because he didn't see it at home. He just knew. And so that's how one person can do it. I'm not saying we can all do it that way because obviously I didn't. I went through a lot a lot of turmoil because of where I came from. And I think I've gotten through that because of the stuff that I've learned here. But the point is that we're responsible, and we have to take responsibility at some time. Our teachings are about taking responsibility. We're responsible for our thoughts. We can change our thoughts. We have all the power to do what we need to do in order to change our life. So the ways we can do that is we have the Sacred 7 spiritual practices. The way we really change our life is the spiritual practices. And here we have CLF's Sacred 7. And I don't know if I can recite them, and I should have them up here, but maybe you guys can help. So here's one. Somebody name one? Visioning. All right. Visualizing. Affirmations. Siva. Meditation. Tithing. Okay, there's prayer. Thank you. Positive prayer. Was that 7? Did we get there? Okay. Okay, all right. So you guys know those. Those are the tools that we have to use daily. I mean, if those, let's see if I can do this right, 7 don't work for you, there are many others. There are many, many other spiritual practices that you can use, but we have to do them on a regular basis. And it's through that practice that we do change our lives, and we do change and transform. And I've seen it through many people here. Yes, because Baby Lynn is transformed. I've watched it over the years. She's totally transformed, and that's the beauty. That's the beauty of being able to work our principles here. And you come to church on Sunday, take some classes, join one of the groups. There's a lot of resources here for us. We just have to use them. And and read a book. Read this book. This one's awesome. So what was my point? I'm running out of time. But the point is that we can change our life and we can change our relationships. It starts with taking personal responsibility for ourselves, making the changes, and really focus on trying to unify instead of divide with each other. The political stuff is going on, and I just need to talk about it because I think there is so much pressure to divide us, and we really have to rise above that somehow, and realize that everybody here is just on their spiritual path, doing their spiritual work. I don't understand theirs. I don't even understand mine. How can I understand somebody else's? And even though the politicians have the ability to affect a lot of people, and we still need to speak up and do our work, if we can find a way to unify and not hate, then I think that we can go a long way as a people. I think that's what I wanted to say. So let's have a prayer to bring these words together. Okay. So if we take these words, these thoughts, whatever was shared, receive it with the loving energy with which it was given, and however we can be fed by Creative Living Fellowship, let that happen. There are so many resources if we could just use them. That is what God is. God is the loving energy, the spiritual divine energy that is present. It's divine knowledge, it's total knowledge. God is love and harmony, abundant flow, and health, prosperity. Those That is what God is, and that is what is expressing, that is present within me, as that same qualities are present within each person in this room and those within the sound of my voice. It's all God. And so in this knowing, I, Mary Jayne, I speak my word and I accept that for each person here and each person within the sound of my voice is fed by Creative Living Fellowship in the way they need to. They hear what they need to hear, whether it's from song, whether it's from fellowship, whether it's from the speaker or from the prayer. They are fed, and from that feeding, there is this connection with the divine. We are in alignment with the divine that is within each person. I accept that, and I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for that full expression of the divine as it expresses through each person here. And how that energy becomes what is Creative Living Fellowship. I am so grateful for that. And in that gratitude, I release these words. I release them into the law, and I let go, and I know, and so it is.